Good morning, everyone. It's me, Merissa, and I'm affiliated in Fukushima Gakuen University. The title of my research is about the self-disclosure, a window on the mind of teachers. The efficacy of sharing someone's emotions and feelings, both positive and negative, is that it promotes deeper understanding and improvement in any kinds of relationships. A broader view of self disclosure, encompassing the good and the bad, is advanced by Caruso. Emotions are contagious, and you can impact the emotions of others by sharing how you feel. And Caruso points out that emotions often rise suddenly, can be fleeting, and are dependent on a variety of contextual factors, such as how well you've slept and how recently you've eaten. How one feels in the moment can be the product of numerous unrelated things. If it is a negative feeling, then it may be passed on to others, resulting in a negative outcome for all parties concerned. However, so this is not always the case. As I stated at the outset, opening up about your feelings can be a great way to understand and manage the problems, misunderstanding, or concerns between people. At the same time, we should be aware that full disclosure may not always lead to the best outcomes. Well, personally, I agree with Caruso's warning that full disclosure or full self disclosure is not always the best way to manage your emotions, but we won't appreciate the benefits of it without knowing its disadvantages too, right? So, as we are told by Lao Tzu in the Lao De Jing, under heavens all can see beauty as beauty only because there is ugliness. So let us begin with our eyes wide open. We all have different reasons why we share them. You have probably, have you asked yourself why we have to share our feelings and emotions with others? Yeah, I do myself sometimes. I recently asked myself why. Here are some now, so the reasons why. So we share our feelings and emotions because we release what it is in our mind and hearts, whether it be good or bad. We share our emotions because it helps us release any anxieties we have. It can also help improve communications and relationship within people. And things unshared or keeping things bottled up can be unhealthy and might lead to burnout and depression. And sharing your feelings and emotions sometimes makes you see things from different perspective, and thus helps you organize your thoughts, sort things out, and attain some psychological relief. And then other number five is human as we are longing for closeness with other people, and sharing helps foster this closeness. And then being human, we need to connect with other people, and this close leads to this state of connectedness. It is important to share our feelings, not to unload our burdens completely, but to at least lessen the weight on our shoulders. And if we hold on to these feelings, particularly negative ones, they will become anchors and cause us to drown in our stress and anxiety. And most importantly, by the mere act of acknowledging feelings and making them heard by trusted people, one takes an absolutely healthy step that may help effect an important change in someone's life. But wait, are sharing and self disclosure the same? Yeah, in many ways they are. However, self disclosure is a slightly delicate issue to tackle because it is the process of letting another person whom what you think, feel, or want. But if we work with the right person, it instills trust, improves the relationships, and motivates and inspires us to do the same things to others. It thus can help one find joy and happiness. The bottled up feelings such as stress, anger, sadness, and similar emotions, which cause emotional and physical turmoil, need an outlet. Otherwise, these things will eat you up inside, cause deterioration to your sense of self-worth and possible accomplishments. Sharing emotions also prove to us that we are not alone. It eases the burden of feeling like the entire world is on our shoulders, when in reality that couldn't be farther from the truth. Even if there isn't an immediate solution to our negative feelings, sharing such emotions with someone else has tremendous impact on on our overall well-being. Self-disclosure is also important for boosting empathy and building trust. It can allow us to manage our stress and even to avoid burnout. The benefits of self disclosure are similar to the benefits of sharing, but self disclosure, particularly in the workplace, can be used to resolve conflict. This again depends on the working environment, but all these negative things will be lessened if we share them with someone we trust. And this is how this study started. A couple of years ago, one of the participants in this research experienced a mild burnout due to the impact of frequent corrections made to her Chinese character in the Japanese report writing. So, to be in a normal, to be in a normal Japanese working environment, um, was hard for her due to her language proficiency limitations. She became negative and felt anxiety and negative and felt anxiety symptoms. So she was knowledgeable enough about this matter theoretically, but had a hard time finding balance and sorting things out on her own. She continued searching on how to help herself by reading books, blogs, and watching video clips on YouTube. And then eventually she discovered the practice of mindful self compassion. So she implemented the ideas she learned and found it to be very effective in coping with the work related challenges she was facing. Convinced of its validity, she extended the knowledge to others. And in so doing, uh, deepened her hypothesis that self-compassion offered beneficial improvements to teachers' well-being. And varied degrees of self-disclosure, both verbal and non-verbal, can be recognized. We disclose depending on the breadth of information given or the range of information shared. And the depth of information given can shift from relatively non-relieving messages to more personal ones. This is illustrated by the onion metaphor or the social penetration theory, which suggests that the self-disclosure is the process of tearing layers of concentric circles away. The onion represents various layers of personality. The multi-layered onion is made up of a public self on the outer layer and private self at the core. At, as time passes and intimacy grows, the layers of one's personality begin to unfold to reveal the core of the person. Superficial, intimate, personal, and up to the core. And this onion metaphor inspired the researcher to assist ALT teachers in Japan. So the study started from a participant already known to the researcher and expanded through the help of this one participant. By looking at the four stages of breadth and depth, in this slide we can see that self-disclosure is only on the second level. We teachers as human too have to think about how we can go about understanding others. The challenge in implementing self-compassion as an answer to someone's stress and anxiety is not easy. That is, unless participants are aware of the importance of self-disclosure in facilitating the effectiveness of self-compassion. Also, very important in this process is the notion of connectedness, which should be developed among the research participants in order to help them establish trust with one another. Allow me to share the submission abstract for this presentation, which offers a clearer overview of this research. In this study, 3 intimate teachers' case studies will be reported: self-compassion, self-care techniques, and even self-compassion fatigue were drawn from narrative group work. 8-week meditation, self-led mindfulness, and solicited diaries to enhance teachers' overall psychological and emotional well-being. Through the case studies of non-Japanese English teachers based in Tokyo, the presence of ongoing workplace stressors and lifestyle adjustments that impact teachers' professional performance and private life satisfactions are identified. One of the participants revealed that despite the pressure on her job, such as limited source of teaching materials, language barrier, and teaching in and at least 4 different schools in a day, made her psychologically and physically exhausted. Being connected with colleagues, frequent communication with her family, and the meditation helped her to embrace her current situation positively. In addition, the benefit and associated challenges of using self-compassion techniques and mindfulness with education professionals will be discussed. Self-compassion entails being warm and understanding towards ourselves when we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate, or rather than ignoring our pain or flagellating ourselves with self-criticism. The study probed whether fostering self-compassion promotes self-disclosure of abs-threatening experiences with teachers' working environment, and whether it indirectly lessens or intensifies their fear of being more compassionate to others and to themselves. The slide describes the study's methodology. First step, the researcher contacted one ALT teacher. Main contact lives in Tokyo, and she helps the researcher to contact other teachers. And we actually contacted at least 30 teachers. They agreed to participate. However, only 14 participants completed the questionnaires. And then from 14 teachers, 5 teachers agreed to join the 8 times self-compassion meditation from September 2019 to January 2020. And then while doing the meditation, the researcher asked the participants to document their narrative experiences and record the self-compassion meditation. And the 8-week self-compassion meditation was conducted in Tokyo. The researcher served in the role of participants' elder sister and as a researcher at the same time. And in this participants' observer role, the researcher strove to exhibit kindness and generosity to all participants throughout the sessions by showing them respect, positive or polite words, despite the fact that she was much older than them, and making sure to cultivate a family-like environment in each sessions. I will now focus on the self-compassion meditation process. Self-meditation process, participants were provided with self-compassion booklets and borrowed self-compassion guides by Desmond and Kristen Neff. The booklet was composed of practice 1 to practice 8. Practice 1 is about the self-compassion body scan. Practice 2 is about the self-acceptance. Practice 3 is about embracing sufferings. And then practice 4 is about the healing pain from the past. Practice 5, going deeper to what we have learned in the past. And then practice 6, when compassion is difficult. Practice 7 is about the natural compassion. And practice 8 is about cultivating joy. And of these 8 sessions, 4 were held in our participants' apartments, 3 in the restaurants in the Tokyo area, and the final session was held at a hot spring bath or onsen, again, somewhere in Tokyo. Here is the self-compassion booklet, and on the left side, and some photos taken while doing the meditation process. Pictures from 1 to 6 document pictures now. 1 to 6 document our various practices, including laughing, of course, now. So basic yoga, eating, and crying. So these expressions of self-compassion work to deepen the connection between us towards self-disclosure. For the first 2 sessions, participants made partial disclosures about challenges in their workplaces. As we went deeper, they began to share some of their related personal worries and problems. The disclosure of their feelings range from positive to negative ones, and even to the point where certain participants until share their tears with us during the sessions. And when we were in practice 6, which is when compassion is difficult, I asked them about their fear of compassion. 2 participants shared the same fear that people will take advantage of them if they were forgiving and compassionate. They believe that people need to help themselves rather than waiting for others to help them. One participant strongly agreed that for some people, discipline and proper punishment were actually more helpful. And when asked about responding to the expression of compassion from others, 2 participants said that when people were kind and compassionate towards them, they felt anxious and embarrassed. They disclosed that they were fearful of becoming dependent on care from others because such care might not always be available or willingly given at times when they needed it most. One even said that when she received compassion from others, she felt sadness. Why? Because she felt that they pitied her. For her, such pity was extremely unwelcome, and she disliked it if others referred to her as kawaiso. This is a Japanese version. Kawaiso is poor girl in English, right? And and when asked about expressing kindness and compassion towards themselves, 2 participants agreed that if they became kinder and less self-critical towards themselves, their standards would drop. One participant accepted that it was easier for be critical rather than compassionate towards herself. Moreover, she feared that being compassionate to herself would cause her to lose the ability to be self-critical and result in her personal flaws being revealed. Naturally, this was something she definitely didn't want to happen. For her, sharing her flaws was a sign of weakness, and she wanted to portray herself as a strong and self-reliant person in a foreign country. And to deepen the effectiveness of self-compassion to promote self-disclosure, narrative inquiry was carried out. Here we understand narrative to be the in the interdisciplinary study of the activities involved in generating and analyzing stories of life experiences. Let's say, for example, life histories, narrative interviews, journals, diaries, memoirs, autobiographies or biographies, and reporting that kinds of research. Um, through these case studies of non-Japanese English teachers based in Tokyo, the presence of ongoing workplace stressors and lifestyle adjustments that impact teachers' professional performance and private life satisfactions were identified. One participant revealed that despite work pressures, including limited source of teaching materials, which is I have already mentioned in the a while ago in the abstract, that despite of these limitations, she did able to manage the problems by embracing the situation and being connected with her colleagues, frequent communication with her family, and meditation helped her to embrace her current situation positively. And here is the sample of self-disclosure through narrative diaries. This person, KO, who has been living in Tokyo for more than 15 years, and an assistant English teachers in junior high school. As an individual, um, as individual living in Japan, she always tries to keep in mind that she's an outsider and that no matter what she does, they will never treat her as an equal. So this is what she felt now, and this is until now she feels. And this minimizes her expectations towards situations and people in general to be in her favor. And I would like to move forward about, move um, quicker in this area. And then also, in some points here, the red marked red here, as a way to unburden herself with all the problems and trials that she was experiencing. In order for her, she said now that as a way to unburden myself, I do things that I feel I have control over. So she was quite positive, and she seems she seemed like no she seems like she knows how to handle her problem now. So in order for her to compensate the opposite feeling that she had now, and she even mentioned that on the first session that I joined, I mean this self-compassion sessions now, and I assured some of the instances that frustrate me as a person and as a teacher in Japan. And she said that when I was introduced to the concept of self-compassion, I felt that I have been experiencing it in my own way. And then self-compassion for me is about maintaining a boundary between my personal and my professional life. I do things both personal and professionals that give me joy and enrich me in both aspects. And it is important for me to have separate groups to assure me that I am not only an English teacher, but I am also a leader, a friend, a member of her family, of course, my family, she said now. And being in these groups assured me that I am more than what my work entails me to do. And then she even said that I am a firm believer of the saying, you cannot give what you do not have. And based on my experiences of relating to others, I have always tried to be at the patient, caring, and understanding side. I am at peace when people feel comfortable towards me and vice versa, because it shows that I know how it is to be cared. And then, but sometimes I don't feel like being cared, patient, and understanding, because it becomes a way for others to take advantage of my goodness. So this is what I've mentioned to you a while ago, that showing kindness and patience to others actually sometimes give her a negative impression about this. So in turn, so this result to more stress than a smooth relationship. And but through the workshop, that is what she said, what we did, she realized that through the self-compassion, she tried her best to separate her personal and professional life. So she even mentioned that there are situations that she had to use her own skills and knowledge and other things to deal with her daily lives. And of course, she even mentioned that I sometimes unconsciously now bring the negativity of work to the other groups when I meet them, which is a prior incident or things that I have been thinking about affect my reaction to the situation. This is now something that I have to work on, and she accepted the fact that she has to work on this kind of reaction towards the problems. And this is about her experience of self compassion meditation, and I am sharing her letter to illustrate how she found it to be beneficial to her during the sessions. The detailed analysis will be followed. So even the first thing I realized, I would like to, the red ink, the highlighted one. So these are the things that I really appreciated. Now she felt good, and she said that during the meditation, it felt good and I felt lighter physically after I attended the meditation. But after some time, I was back to the real world. So you see, during the meditation, she felt good, and then she felt that the meditation was really a big help. However, when she was on her own again, and the original her came back, and she told me that, and then and that is the thing now. So we really need to be a kind of a patient and also strict to ourselves in order to maintain the self meditation continuously. Meditation was a way to be relieved of the stress temporarily for her. And um, and then also she said that my idea of meditation is to sit in a quiet place without any distractions. And it is impossible to meditate if I am in my room surrounded by things that remind me of my daily life. And then when I introduced that you can meditate even even if you are in the restaurant. That's why I brought them in the restaurants. Of course, it's quite noisy in the restaurant. It's quite, you're not alone in the onsen, no. However, you can do this 5 minute meditation, 5 minute to 5 minutes now to be with yourself is a big thing, and it needs really a kind of training in order to to master this one. I myself, I actually I cannot stand the 30-minute meditation. So when I saw a video clip about 5 to 10 minute meditation, I tried to do those things, and yeah, it was effective to do this short meditation. She said no, so this short attention. She even this particular participant really. Um shared her inner feeling that when she first heard uh, about me, of course, our resource person, that it is possible to meditate anywhere. She said, I actually was a bit pessimistic about it. That is what she said. I have a short attention span. That is what she said. And I can sit still for a couple of minutes, but once I am distracted, I won't be able to sit still. And I find it hard to be in the same position for a long period of time. Even if I am physically still, my mind wanders somewhere else. So discipline is the thing there. However, she did it now. So, and then at our last session, she said that she learned that even a deep sigh or a deep breath is a form of meditation, because I mentioned to them that a deep breathing and then a sigh also helps to unload the weight in your heart, now. So it helps. So and she said that she was glad to know that. And sometimes it depends on the culture, right? So I am from the Philippines, and in the Philippines, when somebody sighs, it is something like, oh, you don't need to sigh, because it's you're giving something like bad luck to other people now. So when I was a child, we were told that we should not sigh, especially in front of when we are eating or in front of other people. So this is now. However, so sighing also sometimes is good to unload some of your worries. And so this particular respondent or participant said that I often sigh or let out a deep breath when I feel overwhelmed, tired, frustrated, angry, and even sad. So honestly, it helps. So because maybe that's the only thing I could do to let out the heavy feeling. And the meditation during COVID-19. So when we experience the feeling of compassion, the care circuit in our brain releases oxytocin and natural opiates. Now it also dramatically reduces every form of mental distress. And this practice, she learned, helped her brain care circuit to relieve stress, anxiety, and negative emotions during COVID-19 outbreak. And practice 3, which is the practice of embracing suffering, was found to be effective after this participant practiced self-acceptance. For example, she began accepting the situation she was facing at the time without trying to change them in any ways. So this kind of deep acceptance is the best foundation for generating compassion. She received compassion from her family, religious figures, and people she knows, and sent compassion to herself. She did so by recognizing the present suffering in her body, such as anxiety, heavy shoulders, and body stiff neck. There were the two types of embracing suffering. These were the two types of embracing suffering she effectively applied in her life. And this slide shows a selection of comments shared by participant SS, which gives direct insight into the kind of concerns faced by participants as a result of COVID-19. Yeah, so my biggest stress during the lockdown was the money and how long will the lockdown be. So these are the questions that went through my mind. Will the company still pay us in full even if the lockdown will continue for a long time? Will I have enough money to sustain myself? Of course, not only her, I guess now our concern mainly is the financial thing. And since this particular person lives alone, she was actually worried about if she gets now the virus, what will happen to her, and who will help her, and who can she turn to. So, and then in the end, after a month, then she said that thankfully we were still paid in full by the company during the 2-month lockdown. So, and then in order for her to make herself busy, so she decided during the lockdown, so this not lockdown but during the what is that state of emergency in Tokyo, so she decided to enroll on online teaching courses to further develop her skill, and then listened to TED Talk seminars on YouTube and podcasts about positivity, dealing with stress and anxiety, people who have gone through a difficult life and managed to overcome their struggles. And she, of course, talked with her friends and family. And of course, one thing more is she started learning how to cook. So she learned cooking and even taking, gardening now. And this candid disclosure of personal feelings during a difficult time is data gratefully received in the original meaning of data, or the plural of datum, which is Latin for something given, and will form part of future research post-pandemic. And so in conclusion, in the research I have reported on here, participants with ABS, or the anxiety, burnout, stress, were able to foster self-compassion, which in turn promoted profound self-disclosure through storytelling, interview, and narrative writing. As a result, these participants began to build a sense of joy, regulate their emotions, and found themselves led towards a deep personal transformation. So even if one strives for objectivity when conducting research, it is difficult to deal dispassionately with phenomena that touch our lives so differently and deeply. During the time we spent together, these informant teachers truly became my teachers. And it has been an honor to share with you the insights I gained from a process of close and intimate disclosure. Thank you so much for listening, and I would like to share to you again the logo I found on the internet, that sometimes you just need to give yourself a hug. So this is the picture that I also put in the booklet that I gave to the participants, which is very important. Thank you so much, and hope to see you again. Bye.